start? بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Last that we've stopped, if you remember, speaking about the Quran, right? That's what the last thing we talked about in Sharh Assunnah by Imam Muzani rahimahullah. And he was saying there, وَالْقُرْآنُ كَلَامُ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ وَمِن لَدُنْهُ. And the Quran is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and from Him, coming from Him. وَلَيْسَ بِمَخْلُوقٍ فَيَبِيدٍ. And it's not a created thing, so it will perish. It will end. Because every created thing has what? An end. Every created thing. كُلُّ شَيْءٍ هَالِكٌ إِلَّا وَجْهَهُ. Everything will perish except Allah's face. Meaning Allah does not perish because Allah is eternal. Everything else other than Allah Azza wa Jal has a limit to it. So that's why he says, وَلَيْسَ بِمَخْلُوقٍ, because Allah's words are His attributes, and His attributes are divine, and anything that is divine does not have an end. And all of these things, by the way, that we study it, even if we sometimes neglect to connect to that, all of the things in Aqidah have practical applications to them, have a practical impact. So for instance, for the Quran, there's a difference between believing that the Quran is the word, the actual word of Allah Azza wa Jal, versus something created. Because if you believe it's something that is created, even despite the majesty and the eloquence that it has, it still will be something that Allah created. Not His words, but something that Allah created, like humanity. You can marvel at humanity, and humans can produce a lot of things. But still, they are created. They have a limit to them. But if you believe that the Quran is the actual word that Allah spoke this, imagine the haiba, right? The awe of the Quran in your heart when this is the word of Allah. Allah spoke this. And I'm now listening to the words of Allah Himself speaking to me. So the barakah that is in them, the guidance that is in them, the respect that you will have for them is different if you believe it's the words of Allah versus that it's something created. Another practical, not as major, but another practical impact, let's say, or a consequence, is that, comes from a question that I have. Can we swear by the book of Allah Azza wa Jal? Can we swear by the Quran? Okay? So here's the thing, that's a delicate thing. Can we swear by the Quran or not? Someone asked this question. And by the way, I do need your questions. Why do I need your questions? Because that's what's going to tell me, inshallah, if I did a good job of explaining the things I'm explaining. Because I may understand it, but I may fail to communicate that to you. So ask me, inshallah, whether it's now or later, whether it's electronically, through paper, whatever means, inshallah, but just share your questions with me. So, now, can we swear by the Quran or not? Now, think about it, inshallah. If, and it is, the Quran is the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? The Quran is the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. And it's His attribute, sifa. The attribute of Allah is divine. So you can swear by Allah's attributes, meaning I can swear by Allah's power, wa qudratillah, by Allah's mercy, wa rahmatillah, by Allah's knowledge, wa ilmillah. And also I can swear by kalamullah Azza wa Jal, wa kalamillah, wa kalamillah. And the Quran is kalamullah or not? So you can swear by kalamullah, so you can swear by the Quran. Because the Quran is what? Uncreated. So you can say, wal Quran. To emphasize what you want to say, you can say wal Quran. You can't say wal Kaaba. Right? Kaaba is created. You cannot swear by anything that is created. But if it is something that is Allah Azza wa Jal or one of His attributes, you can. You cannot swear by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like in some cultures, right? It's on the tongue. When Nabi, right? When Nabi, right? But you cannot say that. Why? Because you're swearing by other than Allah Azza wa Jal. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man halafa bi ghayri Allahi faqad ashrak." The one who swears by other than Allah Azza wa Jal has committed shirk in Allah Azza wa Jal. So you can swear by the Quran as the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. But now the question is, can you swear by the Mus'haf? Which is different. And I don't want to make it like complicated for you, right? Can you swear by the Mus'haf? You know how sometimes, some people, they go to court or whatever and they put their hand on whatever sacred book. I swear to say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So can you swear by the Mus'haf? So here are two things. First of all, هذا لا أصل له, meaning it doesn't have any proof that the Prophet ﷺ or the Sahaba or the pious ancestors ever did something like this. Whether they had pages of the Quran or the entire Mus'haf, if they wanted to affirm an oath that they would bring the Mus'haf with that and say, put your hand on it and now swear by the Mus'haf. So they did not do this. So it's not from the Sunnah. That's one thing. The other thing, inshallah, I hope your brain doesn't hurt after this, but the other thing is that the Mus'haf, note, the Mus'haf has in it the word of Allah, but also the Mus'haf is what? Paper and ink. So the paper and ink is created. That's the problem that this creates when you start swearing by it, is what are you swearing by, like in your mind? What are you swearing by? The word that Allah spoke, which the ink has written, but the ink itself is not divine. And the paper itself, the plastic that is covering, it's not divine. So it's better to avoid all of this. Right? Avoid all of this. And if you want to swear, you swear by Allah or one of His attributes. Right? So, rahimahullah, he moves into the as-sifat, the attributes of Allah. So he says, وَكَلِمَاتُ اللَّهِ, the words of Allah. وَقُدْرَةُ اللَّهِ, and the power of Allah. وَنَعْتُهُ وَصِفَاتُهُ, the na'at and the sifa are synonyms. وَنَعْتُهُ وَصِفَاتُهُ, His attributes, His description. كَامِلَاتٌ غَيْرُ مَخْلُوقَاتٍ دَائِمَاتٌ أَزَلِيَّاتٌ, they are perfect. كاملات, perfect, complete. غير مخلوقات, uncreated. So kamil is complete, uncreated. دائمات أزليات, eternal. دائمات meaning they will last forever. أزليات, they lasted from forever. They have no beginning and they have no end. So what he's emphasizing here, rahimahullah, is the attributes of Allah. All of them. Kalamullah is like Qudratullah. Allah's speech is like His power, is like His mercy, is like His knowledge, is like His hearing and seeing. And all of this, He's saying, they are all perfect. No deficiency in them. When Allah, for instance, hears, does He miss anything? When He sees, does He miss anything? His knowledge, anything escapes it? So that's what we mean by perfection, kamilat. غَيْرُ مَخْلُوقَاتٍ, they're not created. Allah has always been like that, as He will emphasize. That's why He says da'imat azaliyat. They have been formed forever. Allah says, هُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ, He is the first and He is the last. With all of His attributes, He's the first and He's the last, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's go back to kalimatullah, the words of Allah. So the ulama, they say that the words of Allah are of two types. Kalimatullah are of two types. The religious and the creative. I'll explain what that means. Kawniyya wa diniyya. Kawniyya wa diniyya. What does it mean when we say Allah's words or Allah's speech are of two kinds? The religious one. The religious one is what? The one that you find in the Quran. The one that you will find that Allah had sent in At-Tawrah, the Injil, the other books of Allah, where Allah was speaking to humanity and commanding them to do this, forbidding them to do that. And what you have in the Quran. This is, or these are, the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. So when Allah says pray, fast, give zakah, don't commit injustice, go for hajj, all of this, these are the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. And here, by the way, you have the freedom to comply or not. Follow me? And when Allah tells you pray, U'budullah, worship Allah. You have here the freedom to either you say yes and worship Allah, or say no and you don't worship Allah. Allah does not compel you with His religious words or speech. He commands, but He does not compel. You have the freedom. That's why there are people who believe and people who disbelieve. Sahih? People who believe and people who disbelieve. Though Allah is commanding them and is telling them, but He left them to their own choice. The other kind of kalimatullah is the kawniyah, what I would call or translate as the creative, by which Allah creates and does what He does. Kun fayakun. Be and it is. You be healthy, you be sick, you're alive, you're dead, you're rich, you're poor. This is also kalimatullah azza wa jal. And here it's different than the religious commands. Because here you have no freedom of choice. Right? You don't have any freedom. If Allah wants you to live, do you have a freedom to live or die? No. If He wants you to die, do you have freedom to live? If He asks you to be healthy, if He says this person is going to be sick, do you have the freedom to be healthy? So there, we have no freedom with kalimatullah al-kawniyah. When He creates, it happens. Whether we want it or not. Whether we plan for it or not. Whether we desire it or not. But with the religious commands of Allah Azza wa Jal, we have the freedom. Otherwise, everybody would be a believer. Right? And that's why, when you distinguish between the two, by the way, you'll understand that not everything that happens in Allah's creation is beloved to Allah. Because there are some people who commit disbelief. Does Allah love that? Some people commit disbelief. Does Allah love that? No. وَلَا يَرْضَى لِعِبَادِهِ الْكُفْرِ. He's not happy with disbelief for His servants. So Allah did not compel, though He does not love it, but Allah allows in His creation things that He does not like, religiously. Though there's wisdom behind them, and that's why Allah allows it. Though that particular thing Allah does not like, but its consequence is beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? Now, one practical consequence or lesson that we can get from that is when He says, rahimahullah, and it's true, that the speech of Allah, the words of Allah are complete, they are perfect and don't suffer from any imperfection, it means that Allah's religion and Allah's guidance is perfect or not. And it means also that Allah's decisions, right, in our life are perfect or not. Yeah. Yes. Even if we at sometimes doubt them. Because of what our own impatience or short-sightedness, we doubt them sometimes. Or why did Allah make me sick? Why did Allah not make me rich? Why did Allah not make me successful? Why am I not more handsome? Why am I not thinner? Why am I not taller? Why is my color like this? Whatever it is, right? So Allah Azza wa Jal's decisions are what in total? Perfect or not? They are perfect. That's why He say, كَامِلَاتْ غَيْرُ مَنْقُوصَاتٍ. They are perfect for you. And what they will lead to. Meaning that there is wisdom behind all of them. Even if you don't see it. So as it is that Allah's words and speech that He had revealed religiously, the Quran and the other books are perfect and complete, also His decisions are all wise, right? All wise and merciful and with justice. Right? So that's also one practical consequence or lesson we get from it. And he says, emphasizing all of this, he continues, he says, وَلَيْسَتْ بِمُحْدَثَاتٍ فَتَبِينَ. They are not new. Any of Allah's attributes, they are not new, so they will have an end. وَلَا كَانَ رَبُّنَا نَاقِصًا فَيَزِيدُ. And Allah Azza wa Jal was not deficient, and He increased. Increased in power, increased in knowledge, increased in mercy, increased in wisdom. Meaning, if you think about it, Allah Azza wa Jal, God forbid, but Allah Azza wa Jal was not at one point ignorant and became knowledgeable. We're like that. We learn, right? Right? We are born, we don't know anything. And then we learn, and we acquire both knowledge and experience, and with that comes wisdom. With Allah Azza wa Jal, there was no one point in time, or before time, where Allah Azza wa Jal did not know and then got to know. Or Allah was not wise and He acquired more wisdom. Or Allah subhanAllah was not powerful and He became powerful. He was powerful at all times. Yeah? Yes. Merciful at all times, wise at all times, and knowledgeable at all times. This is what He means. Then he says, rahimahullah, جَلَّتْ صِفَاتُهُ عن شبه صفات المخلوقين. Exalted, جلت, right? Something that is jalil, something that is exalted and high. So, جلت صفاته, his attributes are exalted, are above, looking like the attributes of his creation. So, we talked about this, right, previously. When we say that Allah Azza wa Jal is knowledgeable, we also are knowledgeable. But is His knowledge like our knowledge? Not at all. Right? Our knowledge is preceded with ignorance and is deficient in so many ways. Allah's knowledge is perfect. And when we say Allah is merciful, and we are sometimes merciful, is our mercy like the mercy of Allah? No, not at all. Not at all. Is our power like the power of Allah? Not at all. It comes now to the more, for some people, more problematic attributes of Allah because they have trouble with them. So when we say that Allah has a face, Allah has a face, wajhullah, is His face like our face? No, not at all. Though the name, right, we share the name, but the reality of the sifa of Allah, Allah having two hands, Allah having a face, the reality of the face of Allah Azza wa Jalla, the reality of His hands is different than our reality. So there is no resemblance. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There is nothing like Him. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And then it says, وَقَصُرَتْ عَنْهُ فِطَنُ الْوَاصِفِينَ. And those who describe Him, the imagination or the minds of those who describe Him are unable to comprehend Him. Though with all this description that we have of Allah Azza wa Jal, but what does the reality of Allah is? What does He look like? You ask someone, ask anyone. What does Allah look like? The only thing that you can think of is to bring Him closer to anything created. He looks like this, He looks like this. You tell him, but no, He says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ, nothing is like Him. So this is wrong. Does He looks like that? No, this is wrong. He looks like this. No, this is wrong. So nothing left in creation that you can bring close to Allah Azza wa Jal. So then the mind has to surrender and say, the reality of Allah Azza wa Jal is unknown to me. How He looks is unknown to me. So you don't think about it. We don't think about it. So, وَخَسَرَتْ عَنْهُ فِطَنُ الْوَاصِفِينَ. Then he says, قَرِيبٌ بِالْإِجَابَةِ عِنْدَ السُّؤَالِ بَعِيدٌ بِالتَّعَزُّزِ لَا يُنَالِ. قَرِيبٌ بِالْإِجَابَةِ. He is close. قَرِيب is close. بِالْإِجَابَةِ, with answering. With the answer, عِنْدَ السُّؤَالِ, when you ask Him. So السُّؤَال is to ask Him. So He's telling you that Allah is very close to you. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. So if my slaves ask you about me, I am close and I answer the supplication of the supplicator when they ask. So He's telling you here that Allah is very close to you. And that, subhanAllah, it is something valuable to know and to remember. Though He's going to say afterwards, Ba'id, He's far. Ba'id, bitta'azzuz, with His power and the inability of anyone to reach Him or fully comprehend Him or oppose Him. Ba'idun bitta'azzuz. With His izzah, with His power, majesty, la yunal. No one can reach Him. So He's far, right? But near. Far but near. And believing that Allah Azza wa Jalla is very close to you is one of the things that every Muslim should have in their heart. Because as soon as you say, Ya Allah, He's there. Ya Allah, He's listening to you. Ya Rabbal Alameen, you can't do this with anyone else other than Allah Azza wa Jalla. Even your own spouse. Because she's not always there next to you, right? Sometimes she's asleep, sometimes he's asleep, sometimes he's out, sometimes they don't want to even listen to you. Sometimes they don't want to even listen to you, right? They're sick of you. Oh, so just leave me alone. But when you say, Ya Allah, that's it. You have your connection with Allah Azza wa Jalla directly. And there's no other human being or there's no other creative thing that can be like that for you. Like Allah Azza wa Jalla. So then when you ask yourself, who is the closest one to you? Rabbul Alam. He is the closest one to you. More than your mother, your father, your spouse, your children or anyone else. So when qaribun bil ijaba, so the only thing that stands between you and Allah is you, by the way. The only thing that stands between you, Allah, and you, because you're not asking. You're not turning to Him. But once you do, Allah is there. At the same time, He's very close, but far in terms of what? In terms of being His honor and His majesty. And he then continues, عَالٍ عَلَى عَرْشِهِ, high above his throne. عَالٍ عَلَى عَرْشِهِ. So it's very close to you, but way above his throne. Yet very close to you. And again, that tells you about how incredible Rabbul Alameen is, how incredible He is. So far, yet so near. So far, yet so near. Right? Now, بَائِنٌ مِّنْ خَلْقِهِ, distinct, separate from His creation. This is what it means. بَائِنٌ مِّنْ خَلْقِهِ. بَانَ عَنْ, يعني He's separate, separated from. بَائِنٌ عَنْ خَلْقِهِ, separate from His creation, distinct from His creation. Why does he add this sentence? And the scholars of Islam, they add this sentence to emphasize that he is not mixed with his creation. He's not one and the same with his creation. Because it's in the way that some, Muslims, have described Allah Azza wa Jal in the past. They would say, لَيْسَ دَاخِلَ الْعَالَمْ وَلَا خَارِجَهُ. He's not inside the world nor outside of it. Not to the left of it, not to the right of it, etc., etc. So they describe him in a sense, right, in a way that is very puzzling, and ultimately it will lead someone to think that he does not exist. Because if he's not inside the world nor outside of it, where is he? Right? So it's a very puzzling statement. That's why when he says, he continues, he says, موجود وليس بمعدوم ولا بمفقود. He says, he's existing. And he's not ma'doom, non-existing, wala mafqood, right? Like lost or not available. No, he's there. But where is Allah Azza wa Jal? We talked about al-ulu before. Where is Allah? Above his throne, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that again tells you that he's not mixed with his creation. That aqeedah, that belief that Allah is part of his creation, or that this creation is divine. Once you believe that Allah is above his throne, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that aqeedah vanishes completely. And by the way, it is actually, we talked about this before, and it has historical roots to it. And people today do find it attractive, right? That you're divine. They do find it attractive. So, in Muslim circles and in non-Muslim circles as well. Now, then he moves, rahimahullah. Now he's talking about al-ajal, meaning people's end of times. Al-ajal that Allah had given to them, their umr. He says, وَالْخَلْقُ مَيِّتُونَ بِأَجَالِهِمْ. And the creation are dead بِأَجَالِهِمْ. When their time comes, the ajal that Allah had given to them, the end of their life, when it comes to them, they die. عِنْدَ نَفَادِ أَرْزَاقِهِمْ. When their rizq, when their provisions end, وَانْقِطَاعِ آثَارِهِمْ. And their trace, whatever they produce, this is the athar, their trace ends. Meaning that when Allah Azza wa Jal now has decided that so-and-so's provisions is going to end and nothing else is He's going to produce, what does that mean? Dying. He's dead. So he's saying, rahimahullah, that all of creation have a destination, have an end. لِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ أَجَلٍ, as Allah says. لِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ أَجَلٍ. Every nation has an ajal, has a destination, has an end. فَإِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهُمْ. When their time comes, فَلَا يَسْتَأْخِرُونَ سَاعَةً وَلَا يَسْتَقْدِمُونَ. They're not going to be delayed, nor they're going to precede their appointed time. Exactly at that moment, their life is going to be taken away from them. إِنَّكَ مَيِّتُ وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتُونَ. You are going to die, and they are going to die as well. So everyone is going to die. So he's saying that this ajal is by Allah's destiny. And when He decides that this is it for someone, this is it for them. And they don't live beyond it. Right? So no one thinks, and somebody dies young. He died before his time. Right? You hear that? He died before his time. Not really, right? He died at his time. This is his time that Allah Azza wa Jal wanted him to live. Not before and not after. So everything that happens exactly as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destines. So this is al-ajal. And by the way, also, all of these have their, lessons or things, that we learn from them. If you know that the ajal is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that takes what out of your heart? Fear. If ajal is in the hands of Allah, That is, yes, you need to be cautious. We're not saying that you don't need to take care of yourself and your health and all of this. These are all asbab, means. Right? Driving carefully, not endangering yourself and your family. These are all means that you are supposed, you're responsible, you're obligated to follow them. But we understand also that you can do all of this and yet die. And not do all of this and yet live. Very long. And there's like one of those videos, there was this guy, and he's like 100-something years old. And he still has his sight, he has his hearing, he has his health, and he still drives. And he's smoking. Right? So you think to yourself, he shouldn't be. Now I'm not encouraging you to smoke. Right? A lot of the people who smoke end up, dying because of cancer. So you shouldn't do it. But I'm telling you that subhanAllah, the ajal, the umr, is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not always telling me about the secret. What made you live so long? This guy is smoking. What was his secret? He's going to tell you to smoke and eat red meat and all of that. Right? What else is he going to share with you? But eventually, we want to say that all is in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jalla. We have to take care of the means. That's our responsibility, but still the ajal is in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jalla. He moves to the grave, al-qabr. He says, ثُمَّ هُمْ بَعْدَ الضَّغْطَةِ فِي الْقُبُورِ مُسَاءَلُونَ. Then they are, after the contraction inside the grave, or the contraction of the grave, will be questioned. Al-daghta is for the grave to contract. And we believe, because the Prophet ﷺ told us that everyone who is buried, the grave will contract first. Right? And then will expand. And the Prophet ﷺ said that if anyone was going to survive this or escape it, Sa'd ibn Mu'adh radiyallahu anhu would have. But even Sa'd ibn Mu'adh would have to go through that. But it's easy on the believer, difficult on the non-believer. But anyone who's buried, the grave contracts and then expands. So he says, ثُمَّ هُمْ بَعْدَ الضَّغْطَةِ. So after this contraction of the grave, هُمْ مُسَاءَلُونَ. They will be questioned. And this is what is known as fitnatul qabri or su'alul qabr. And it is there in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that when a person dies, that's the meaning of it, when the person dies and when people are leaving, وَإِنَّهُ لَيَسْمَعُ قَرَعَ نِعَالِهِمْ, he hears still their footsteps as they are leaving the grave. Then two angels come to him. أسودان شديدان أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, right? That they are tough, stern, black angels. They come to him. المنكر والنكير. This is what he named them in the hadith. المنكر والنكير. And they ask him the three questions that you know very well. And these are what? ما ربك ما دينك من رسولك. So I'll ask him these questions. Who is your Rabb? What is your deen? Who is your messenger? And then based on how they lived and their iman in their heart, they'll be able to give this answer or they will fail. So this is also one of the areas where Allah Azza wa Jalla says, يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. Allah will confirm and establish the believers with the qawl al-thabit, with that established true statement in this world and in the next. Because it's difficult. Right? It's difficult. Imagine yourself, even in this life, you get lost. Somebody comes to you and he's strong and he comes to you, and he looks menacing. What's your name? He says, I forgot. I don't know what my name. What do you need my name for? I don't know. So that there is a difficult, right? Test. Except if Allah gives us tathbeet, establishes the heart, establishes the tongue. And then you're able to say, despite their, subhanAllah, their menacing look and how harsh they are, yes, this is it. That's the confidence that you have that comes from Allah. Yes, Rabbi Allah. Dini al-Islam, Rasuli Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then it's it. Then you're done, bi'idhnillah. Then you're done. This is it. So this is the questioning of the grave. And of course what follows, he does not talk about it. Also the punishment in the grave. He doesn't talk about it, but we can add that. Adhabul qabri. That there's also punishment of the grave. And that is again confirmed by the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that there are some people who will be punished in the grave. As he was passing by the graves of two people, and he said, إِنَّهُمَا لَيُعَذَّبَانِ وَمَا يُعَذَّبَانِ فِي كَبِيرٍ. They are being punished, and they are not being punished for a great sin. Yes, it is great. فَأَمَّا أَحَدُهُمَا فَكَانَ يَمْشِي بِالنَّمِيمَةِ. One of them used to do namima, right? Spread secrets. Or this person said that about you, this person said this about you. So he used to go between people and corrupt between them. So this is namima. And the other person, he would not purify himself from urine, or in another narration, would not protect himself from urine. Meaning, his tahara is invalid. So he says these are very simple things to avoid, yet they also could bring the punishment of the grave. And the punishment of the grave for some people, for some of the kuffar, could last from the time that they were buried all the way till the day of judgment. And they'd be resurrected. We'll talk about the resurrection now. Some, for the believers, they could be punished for it, but the punishment could end before the day of judgment, depending on what they were doing and the punishment and the sin that they were doing. So it doesn't need to last all the time till their resurrection. So this is the grave, and then he goes to talk about an-nushuru wal-hisab. This is a resurrection and the questioning by Allah Azza wa Jalla. So he says that وَبَعْدَ الْبِلَى مَنْشُورٌ. After the bila, after they become dust and sand, he says what happens? مَنْشُورٌ. They will be resurrected. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ says that all of the child of Adam, all of his body, will turn into sand and dust, except a bone, right? The end bone. عقدة الدم. No? Yeah, something like that. It's the last, bone right from your spine. Huh? The spine. Yeah, the last bone, the smallest bone of the spine. And then he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then Allah, of course, after everybody's soul is being, has been taken from them, because there will be people who are alive, and Allah will ask Israfil alayhi salam, the angel, to blow the trumpet. And then everybody will die. Then Allah Azza wa Jalla now will bring people to life. And in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says that then the sky will rain. And the rain will fall. And then people now will come out as if like a plant, sprouting as if it's a plant. They'll come out from their grave, and they will be resurrected by the will of Allah Azza wa Jalla and His power. Exactly, right? They're not missing anything. Though, subhanAllah, maybe thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, Allah knows how many years have passed, but still every piece of them, none of it will be missing, will come and stand before Allah Azza wa Jalla. So muhum ba'd al-bila manshurun. So they're going to be... Nah? Exactly, no matter where, this atom of theirs it exists, it will come, Allah Azza wa Jalla will bring it. And he says, وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ مَحْشُورُونَ. So on the day of Qiyamah, the last day, إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ, to their Rabb they will be gathered. Right? They will be gathered. In the sense that their body is assembled again, and everybody is standing in that plain piece of land, everybody awaiting judgment from Allah Azza wa Jal. And he says, وَلَدَ الْعَرْضِ عَلَيْهِ مُحَاسَبُونَ. And they will be presented to Allah Azza wa Jal. And they will be questioned. This is the hisab. They will be accountable for what they did in this life. وَلَدَ الْعَرْضِ عَلَيْهِ مُحَاسَبُونَ. He says, بِحَضْرَةِ الْمَوَازِينَ وَنَشْرِ صُحُفِ الدَّوَاوِينَ. In the presence of the scales. What are the scales that he's talking about? Actual physical scales that will be there on the day of judgment. Allah Azza wa Jalla knows how great and magnificent they will be, but an actual scale. What will be weighed on those scales? The good deeds and the bad deeds. Right? And also for some, you yourself will be weighed. For some, the person also himself will be weighed. And of course we know that if the good deeds are better than the bad deeds, a person is going to heaven. And if it's the other way, then it's up to Allah Azza wa Jal. Either He punishes this person or, He forgives him. We'll talk about that inshallah. So بِحَضْرَةِ الْمَوَازِينَ. So the scales are there, be brought before Allah Azza wa Jal. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam there said, مَنْ حُوسِبَ عُذِّبْ. It says, I think in Sahih Bukhari, "Man husab," the one who will be brought to an account will be punished. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she's smart. Aisha radiallahu anha, she knows the Quran. So she says, Ya Rasulullah, ja'alani Allahu fidak. Yani, Ya Rasulullah, yani, may Allah ransom me for you. Yani, my life for you. My life be given for you. Doesn't Allah Azza wa Jal say in the Quran, فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا? He will be brought to a light account. Doesn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say this? He says, no, this is al-ard, this is the presentation. وَمَن نُوقِشَ الْحِسَابَ عُذِّبْ. But the one who will be brought to an exhausting account or accountability of what he did will be punished. What's the meaning of this? Meaning that for the believer, the one who's going to go bi-idhnillah to heaven, or let's backtrack one. There are some people who will not be questioned at all. Not at all. Go directly, right? Be resurrected, and then they will go directly to Jannah by the will of Allah Azza wa Jal. So there's no hisab for them. No question of why did you did this bad sin, none of that. Then there is another category of believers, right? Or let's talk about the believers who will be brought before Allah Azza wa Jal. And it's him or her and Allah alone. And Allah will ask, did you do this? Did you do this? Do you remember this? Not to all of their sins. Some of it. And then the believer will say, yes, Ya Allah, yes, Ya Allah, yes, Ya Allah. And he thinks what now? Because Allah is reminding him of some of the bad things that he has done, he thinks that he's going where? Hellfire. Then he says, فَإِنِّي سَتَرْتُهَا عَلَيْكَ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَإِنِّي أَغْفِرُهَا لَكَ الْيَوْمَ. Meaning I concealed this in the dunya for you, and now I forgive it. Right? So this person, Allah did not exhaustively remind him of all of his sins. Just some of them. What's the purpose of that? This is to show you Allah's favor. For this person to know Allah's favor, first of all, I know about these things. يَوْمَئِذٍ تُعْرَضُونَ لَا تَخْفَى مِنْكُمْ خَافِيَةٌ. At that moment, you will be, at that day, you will be presented to Allah. Nothing, even the khafiyah, which is hidden, is not going to be hidden that day. So Allah wants to show you, first of all, that He knew everything about you. And also wants to show you His mercy, that I know this, I concealed it, now I forgive it. No one else will know about it. It's only between you and Allah Azza wa Jalla. So, the other, which is the non-believer, the one who's going to be punished, this is the one who's nuqish al-hisab, meaning that Allah questions him about all the bad things that he has done. Everything. And if Allah does that to anyone, this person will be punished. If Allah asks someone about all the bad things that they've done, that person will be punished. This is nuqish al-hisab. But if not, it's simply ard. Allah just asks a few questions about the bad things that we've done, then Allah Azza wa Jal is not going to punish this person. So He says, all that happen is going to happen when the scales are present, and also the books of where the record is, their deeds also are going to be present. Then He says, أَحْصَاهُ اللَّهُ وَنَسُوهُ. Allah counted it, Allah remembered it, and they forgot about it. Allah says that in the Quran, أَحْصَاهُ اللَّهُ وَنَسُوهُ. Meaning, do we remember all of the bad things that we've done? No, right? We forgot about it. We forgot about it. Not only the things that we've done 5 years ago or 10 years ago, the bad things we've done last week, we forgot about it. This is what Allah says, أَحْصَاهُ اللَّهُ وَنَسُوهُ. Allah counted all of it, but they forgot about it. Right? So we subhanAllah, this is one of the beautiful things here that this puts in us is humility. Because you pray one salah, you give $100, you go on one umrah or one hajj, or you think, I'm Superman. I've done what no one else has done. I'm great now. Because you're counting the good that you've done and you forgot about all the bad. Because Allah is telling you, oh no, you forgot about all the bad things, I didn't forget about them. Not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to humiliate you, but to tell you that this is my justice, so that you will witness in yourself both Allah's justice and Allah's mercy. Because to yourself right now, as I said, you're Superman, because you forget about all the bad things, you remember all the good things, and you have the best thoughts about yourself. So of course, I'm not only in heaven, I'm also in Al-Firdaus Al-A'la, and I'm part of the 70,000 or so that will not be questioned. That's who I am. Because all the bad things have been erased. Allah Azza wa Jalla wants to tell you, no, now you're going to witness my justice. So when you look at all the bad things, you say, oh, now I know. Now I remember all these bad things. And now Allah says, now I forgive. Then you will witness the great rahmah of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So he says, أحصاه الله ونسوه. He says, في يوم, in a day. كان مقداره, its extent, its length is 50,000 years. 50,000 سنة. لو كان غير الله عز وجل الحاكم بين خلقه. If Allah Azza wa Jal were to be, if other than Allah Azza wa Jal were to be the ruler or the judge between His creation. لكنه, but Allah Azza wa Jal, يلي الحكمة, Allah is the one who will handle this judgment between them بعدله, with His justice. بمقدار القائلة في الدنيا. I'll explain all that. بمقدار القائلة في الدنيا, the length of the noon nap in the dunya, in this world, and He is the swiftest of judges and accountants. What does He mean here? What is He saying here? He's saying, rahimahullah, this is going to happen in the day of judgment. And Allah Azza wa Jal says about the day of judgment, في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة. In a day, its length is 50,000 years. So one of the opinions, and he's adopting one opinion here, one of the opinions about the 50,000 years is that it's 50,000 years. If other than Allah Azza wa Jal were to handle the judgment between people, it will take them 50,000 years to finish that questioning. To finish everybody. This is how long it's going to take. If it was other than Allah. But he says, but when Allah is going to be the judge and the questioner and the accountant, all of this is going to finish with His justice. بِمِقْدَارِ الْقَائِلَةِ. The qa'ila is midday. Around 12, 1 o'clock, midday. And midday you will take, usually, right, the Muslims, the Arabs and the Muslims, they would take a nap. They would take a nap that day. Right? It's actually recommended in the Sunnah actually to take a nap. So he said they would take a nap. He says the length of Allah's judgment, where He's going to finish all of humanity, is going to be the length of that nap. That short nap that they're going to take in the middle of the day. وَهُوَ أَسْرَعُ الْحَاسِبِينَ. And He's the swiftest of accountants. So this is one opinion about it. The other opinion about it is that that day of judgment is going to feel like it's 50,000 years for the non-believer. The non-believer is going to go through it and will feel for them like it's a 50,000 years. That's very long. Very long. One day, under the sun, under the heat, waiting to be judged. 50,000 years. That is very long. How about the believers? Is it going to be 50,000 years? No. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says it will feel for them as if it's between Asr and Maghrib. From Asr to Maghrib, and then they're done. Yani short and sweet, inshallah. You know? If a person has Iman, short and sweet, they're not going to suffer and struggle on that day. Notice, from 50,000 to between Asr and Maghrib. That's the difference. Right? Subhanallah. Incredible. And even Allah Azza wa Jalla had given us a taste of that, small taste of that in this dunya. Imagine, you're going through a rough day, a rough night. Okay? And you're looking at the time, and you're waiting for the morning, for instance. It looks like what, 7 hours or 6 hours, or like an entire day, and it's not moving. Or 2 days, and it's not moving. As Abu al-Attahiyya says, مَا أَطْوَلَ اللَّيْلَ عَلَى مَنْ لَمْ يَنَمْ. How long is the night for someone who cannot sleep? Very long. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. When is 6 o'clock? 7 o'clock is going to come. So, yeah, Allah giving you a taste. Whereas if you're having fun, what do they say about time? Flies. If it's a good time, it flies. If it's a bad time, it drags and drags and drags. So Allah giving you a taste. So if it's a bad time in the day of judgment, oh yeah, Allah is going to drag. 50,000 years. But if it's a sweet time, this is what you want. Imagine another taste. It's getting harder and harder for people to cross borders, right? Right? So if imagine yourself, right? You wanted to cross a border and you are of the people that have been blessed, right? So you have a pass. You go in, show the pass, and you're just on your way. That's sweet. And you look on the other side and you see people standing in lines. Lines upon lines. Maybe you've gone through those lines. And coming in to the side, Mr. So-and-so, Muhammad, whatever. So you sit to the side, we're going to take care of you in a few hours, right? And then few hours pass, few hours. What are they doing? Few hours. That's the kind, right? Where you've seen, taste of it. So if you want to be among the blessed, increase your iman, you come close to Allah Azza wa Jalla. So on that day, it'd be sweet, it'd be simple, and you move quickly, right? From this dunya to the akhirah to Jannah. Otherwise, it's a difficult time. نعم صحيح نعم صحيح نعم وهو نعم. So he says كما بدأه لهم, he continues, كما بدأه لهم من شقاوة وسعادة يومئذ يعودون فريق في الجنة وفريق في السعير. He says, as he has began with his destiny, that so and so is going to be in Jannah, so and so is going to be in fire, they all will conform to Allah's destiny. A party is going to be in Jannah and a party is going to be in hellfire. So Allah's destiny meaning cannot be escaped. Allah's destiny cannot be escaped. But again, don't dwell on that too much. Oh, if Allah's destiny is so and so is going to be in hellfire and this person is going to be in Jannah, why am I doing what I'm doing? No. This is what? Know about it, believe it, leave it to Allah. And then you pray to Allah, Ya Allah, make me of the blessed, the successful, enable me to do what you love, and you do that. So that thing, as a belief, you keep it with you, but as far as your action is concerned, this is part of the unknown. You don't need to dig it up and think about it too much. You leave it to Allah Azza wa Jal, but you do your best, bi'idhnillah, to obey Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب, 9:15. Khair, inshallah. So we'll stop here, so just to see if there are any questions, so that we give you time for Isha, inshallah, and wudu and all of that. Questions? Oh, good, inshallah. So if a person says, وَرَبُّ الْكَعْبَةِ, is that allowed? Obviously, right? Inshallah, obviously. And this is a way to correct if you have a bad habit of swearing by other than Allah, saying وَالنَّبِي, for instance, say وَرَبُّ النَّبِي. You just add وَرَبُّ. By the Rabb of the Prophet, by the Rabb of the Kaaba, by the Rabb of Samawat wal Ard, whatever, then, yes. So that is allowed. So swearing by Allah Azza wa Jal is allowed, and by other than Allah is not.
When you say that Quran is the word of Allah or creation?
Uncreated. No.
Is it the word of Allah?
The word of Allah. The speech, the meaning that Allah spoke that.
So it's not going to be disappeared?
In a sense, for instance, any attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't end. Kalamullah, it does not end. It's going to disappear what? It's going to disappear from the Mus'haf.
What is going to disappear?
From the Mus'haf. So there will come a time, the Prophet ﷺ told about it, well, one night, the Quran will be taken, meaning the Quran will be taken from the Masahif. So the people will open the Masahif, and there will be no Quran in it anymore. So all the ink has gone.
How about those
Probably, Allah Alam, they didn't say that. They didn't say that. So either that there are no Huffaz at that moment, or they will retain that until nobody knows it anymore. Right? Allahu Alam, I do not know. Exactly. Inshallah, Jazakallah khair. When believers die in the grave, are believers and non-believers? When a believer dies in the grave, are believers and non-believers be separated? Meaning when they're, I don't know, it doesn't mean when they are buried. Typically they should be separated when they are buried. Right? So they have a cemetery for the Muslims and a cemetery for other people of different faiths. If that's the question, then that's the answer. Are they going to be separated in a different way? I don't understand the question, so Allah, inshallah. So if I did not answer your question, write it, inshallah, with a little bit more detail, and I'll try to answer it, inshallah.
Sheikh, I had that every night Allah Azza wa Jalla is praising Samadunya.
Naam. So one of the attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal that is mentioned in the hadith that is in As-Sahih, he says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that ينزل الله عز وجل كل ليلة إلى السماء الدنيا في ثلث الليل الآخر أو كما قال. Allah Azza wa Jal descends in the last third of the night to the lowest sky. فيقول ألا من سائل فأعطيه ألا من مستغفر فأغفر له أو كما قال. He says, is there a person who wants forgiveness, so I forgive him? And a person who is supplicating, so I will give him. So this again is an attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal. But what's important about it is we do not try to imagine it or go beyond what the Prophet ﷺ has said. Does he say that he descends to the lowest dunya? Yes, he does. Does that mean that he mixes with his creation? No, it does not mean that. How does that happen? Allahu A'lam knows. He didn't expand on it. And the beautiful thing is that the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ did not ask follow-up questions because they understood this is not something we can imagine. It is just beautiful to know that Allah comes closer to you in the last thought. See, why does the Prophet ﷺ say this? There's always, a lesson from it, to produce something from it. Allah comes closer to you for your sake in the last third of the night. Why aren't you coming closer to Allah? And He's offering. Usually, right, the one who wants goes. And I want money from you. I go and knock on your door, right? Please give me money. I harass you by calling you. I plead with you. It's not that you hear that I want money, you come with the money and you knock on my door every night. Come and take it, come and take it. And I say, I'm asleep, leave me, right? I don't want your money. No, they don't do that. But Allah Azza wa Jal, He's coming in a sense, and He's asking you, do you want? He's coming closer to you. So that's what you get from it. And when you actually believe it as a sifa, as an attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal, you will be filled with love for Allah. Because He's doing that for you. So, Jazakallah khair, yes. Yes. You have a question? Okay.
When I pray, sometimes I see people, they do this, or sometimes I see people, they go down, they do this, they do this, they do this, they do this.
Okay, so...
What comes the correct one?
Okay, inshallah. So, here's your question about moving the finger in the tashahhud, right? And the different ways that people moving it, that people circle right to left and something like that. So, the two most accurate ways, bi'idhnillah, right, is either that you would raise your finger, the index finger, and you keep it without moving it. So this is one opinion for the ulama. Or that if you are going to move it, you move it حركة خفيفة في محلها, يعني a short or like a slight movement in its place, right? So a slight movement in its place, right? Or you keep it still. This way, some ulama say you keep it still, you don't move it. The others say no, you move it because the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says he moved it, but he says just a slight movement, not a big movement, right? And definitely not a circle or left to right. No, just a slight movement. Oh, yeah. So that is the accurate way, inshallah.
You made it very happy because you said the day of the judgment, when everybody will be in the field waiting for the judgment.
No.
You said that will be easier for mu'mineen.
No.
And somebody was telling me, it will be so many years you will be standing there, or days and nights, and then the sun will be nearer, and then everybody will suffer.
No.
And they are praying, just to quickly, God, maybe.
Naam. There's a hadith in the Prophet ﷺ that people will be standing in the beginning, right? And then the sun will be very close to them and will be swimming. Some people will be swimming in their sweat, and they will go to each one of the Prophet or the major prophets of Allah, asking them to intercede on Allah's behalf. So the ordeals and the pain of the Day of Judgment, you will experience less and less and less of it if your iman is high. So yes, there will be people under the sun, but there will be people under the shade. Right? There will be people under the shade, and these people are not going to be experiencing the same heat, the same difficulty than the people under the sun are experiencing. So the greater a person's iman is, the easier that they will be with them or on them for the nilah.
And these 700,000 or
70,000 would, yeah.
70,000 will be going without any.
No.
70,000 are very few.
Naam. So inshallah, there's another hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that he says that Allah had increased him, that with every one of the 70,000, there's a 70,000. So multiply 70,000 by 70,000, inshallah, that's the total number of everybody from the Ummah of Muhammad who will go to Jannah directly without hisab, inshallah. Yeah, inshallah. Any last question? Yeah, inshallah.
The question that the brother asked you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came in Surah and Surah Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa
How to combine it? So Allah Azza wa Jal coming down. Naam. So Allah Azza wa Jal, right, is close to you at all times. At all times, when you make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal, He is close to you. And He's close to you by the answer to your dua, by listening to Him, by, understanding your needs. He's very close. It's not distant in that way. And He is closer in the last third. They are closer in the last third. And there are certain acts of worship that a person can commit that will bring him even closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Sujood is one. So when you're in sujood, Allah is even closer to you, right? In a way that befits Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is what we believe in. So Allah at all times is close to you, and there's sometimes He is even closer to you. Inshallah. Inshallah.
If I'm not wrong, one of your speeches you talk about rain or snow, sometimes you're so happy, just make dua. It's just the same thing with that?
That this is one of the times that Allah Azza wa Jalla accepts dua, right? Is in the nuzul al-matar, when it rains. And like that, if there hail or if there is snow, that one of the times that Allah Azza wa Jalla accepts dua. So it's one of the good times to make dua. It's just like between adhan and iqama, in the sujood, last third of the night. There are special times to make dua, and one of them is also when it rains. It could be, I don't know why if you're all of a sudden you're happy, alhamdulillah, and you feel like dua, absolutely, do dua, inshallah. Yeah, inshallah. So inshallah. So if there are any questions, let me see, I don't think there are any questions here. Okay. Jazakumullah khair, inshallah, and we will see you next week, bi'idhnillah.